President Akufo-Addo has promised government will settle its arrears due the National Pension Scheme, the Social Security and National Insurance Trust. The amount represents second-tier pension contributions, or the arrears represent second-tier pension contributions of workers on government payroll who should have been paid to the trust to invest. TUC Secretary General Dr. Yaba at this year's May Day celebration expressed worry the arrears could jeopardize SNIT's ability to operate effectively and pay pensioners. Nancy Emefajradozi was at the event and our reports.
The failure of government to settle the outstanding contributions was one of the issues raised by the TUC Secretary General.
Government still owes SNIT and second-tier schemes millions, if not billions, of Ghana cedis. We cannot expect our pension schemes to perform effectively and efficiently if government, which is the single largest employer with over 600,000 workers on its payroll, fails to pay social security contributions. If there is any factor that can lead to the collapse of our pension schemes, it is the persistent non-payment of social security contributions by government.
Dr. Yauba also talked about progress made towards enhancing what SNIT pays pensioners.
Yes, indeed, low level of pay is an important factor. But another important factor which is contributing to low pensions has to do with the way pensions are computed. So in the last 2 years, organized labor has been engaging board and management of SNIT and MPRA on the computation of social security benefits. Mr. President, I'm very pleased to inform you that we are making very good progress.
President Akufo-Addo noted government is already working on settling the arrears.
I'm informed that the Ministry of Finance has arranged for payment of 200 million cedis and the bond of 700 million cedis towards the retirement of the arrears owed to SNIT. This will leave arrears of 800 million cedis, which will be included in next year's budget.
He also announced plans were far advanced for the establishment of a pension scheme for the country's cocoa farmers.
Since about 90% of workers operate in the informal sector, we must focus our attention on extending access to that sector in compliance with the National Pension Law. At the moment, government efforts are on course to establish a cocoa farmers pension scheme. This trend will be extended to other worker groups in the informal economy.
The TUC in 2018 had tabled a number of proposals to be considered by government in the 2019 budget to, among others, improve the lot of workers in the informal sector whilst also strictly enforcing the minimum wage. Workers Joy News spoke with, however, say they are dissatisfied with work done on it so far.
Workers, our standard has improved, but not to what we are expecting. We think the government can do better by raising the minimum wage up a little, because what we are getting now is not something to take home about.
As a worker, you should stabilize the economy, because it seems things are hard now for us.
The theme for this year's May Day celebration is Sustainable Pensions for All, drawing attention to the end of service benefits of workers in the country.
Now, most workers on public holidays get to take time off work to either relax at home, go out to have some fun, or pursue private engagements. There is, however, a category of workers providing essential services who necessarily have to be at post, even on holiday, so the rest can enjoy. Therefore, Evans Chinri stepped out to speak to some of such essential services staff as we went about serving the nation on May Day.
Just like us journalists who work every day, most workers are seen busy behind their books and computers on a holiday set aside to appreciate workers across the world. It feels like a typical working day for most of them, who had to wake up as early as 4 a.m. to go to work. They are unsure what time they will get off work as they have a huge load of assignments to complete. Here are workers of the power distribution services taking turns to tell us how they feel about working on a holiday.
A fault, okay, my duty is ensure that our customers get supply back when the fault, okay. Though it's a midday, however, some of us must ensure that customers are satisfied. Power reliability must be ensured. That's why some of us, we stand by waiting for all these events. When they come, then we resolve it.
I have to be here because my people will need materials to work in case of any eventuality. You know, even though it's Mayday, we have to make sure that the system is stable for you to have supply.
I want to find out, how do you feel about being at work on a holiday?
We need to work because I'm working at the fourth session. Fourth session is like a hospital. As doctors and the nurse always in the hospital, the same as us. So fourth session is a ECG hospital. Maybe somebody will go off. Either the fuse will blow or he might have a problem. We're here to solve it.
It's not pleasant anyway because you also need to have time for your family, your wife, your kids, and all of that. But it's a calling, so we are ready to sacrifice. You know.
The type of work that we do here doesn't allow everybody to be on holiday, because I'm, for instance, in the stores, and so for that matter, when there's any emergency, you have to be there to give them the item to go and do the work because the people cannot be in darkness. So it's good.
At the Kanishi Polyclinic, few of the nurses were busy attending to a lot of patients. Although they declined to speak on camera, they say they are excited to be taking care of very sick people who need immediate attention. It's all for the love of the job and country, I guess. F1 Evans Chinwi for Joy News.
And we're taking a break here on Joy News, but still ahead, Accra Region Police arrest 4 foreigners in a soup at Ashomang over their involvement in internet fraud. You stay tuned in. We'll be back in a bit. Residents of Kokobeng in the Ichima-Kwawuma district of Ashanti region are accusing their political leaders of failing to respond to the appeal for support to complete a bridge in the area. They say repeated promises by the Member of Parliament and District Chief Executive to provide resources to augment their contributions remains unfulfilled. A planned demonstration on Tuesday over the matter flopped as organizers were forced to beat a retreat due to poor participation. Nana Sensomensa has more in this report.
We are telling the MP to come and help us to build this bridge. The landlord around here built the bridge, and this contractor and the AA Mat, they help us to build this bridge. So we are entreating the MP and the DCE to come and help us to build the bridge.
Part of the community have been cut from the main Kokobeng township as a result of a collapsed bridge linking the old and new towns. Affected landlords took up the challenge to initiate construction of the bridge, but support has eluded them. Residents pour out their frustration.
It is affecting our kids and even the citizens. When they are sick, they don't have the access to the clinic. They have to pass the long way round before getting to the main street, and this is affecting the society and the community as large.
During heavy rains, this river overflow its banks and you could hardly cross to school. Most times, we get to school after first break.
To me and close. Ukasa we are Ukraine so no do continue say osansan wachi ekofa another road.
We have to use alternative route when it rains heavily, she says. With my kids, it is risky to cross the river when it rains. The MP and DCE could not be reached for comment. Nana Asensumensa reporting.
Scientists are calling for policy interventions to prevent high levels of fruits and vegetable losses in Ghanaian markets. Nutrition experts and collaborators say this is crucial for improving availability, access, and consumption of fruits and vegetables, which can contribute to preventing overweight and obesity. The team of scientists are attending a consultative workshop and meeting as part of the Researching the Obesogenic Food Environment, a project implemented in South Africa and Ghana. Kwesi Debra has more in the following report.
Studies in Ghana show most households depend on traditional markets to source their food, including processed. Wide variety, lower price and proximity dictate preference. Professor Aite believes non-segmentation of the market has done little to encourage fresh food consumption.
It's been done an evaluation of our LEAP program that shows that a good chunk of it, when people take the money, is actually used for buying food. What we don't know is the kind of food that they are buying with it, because we don't have a condition that says that you need to use it for this kind of food or the other. Perhaps we could do better by learning from others, but you can't segment the market. It's a private place, but ensure that you then put in a mechanism that makes the fresh produce more appealing. One way of doing that is to find a way of giving subsidies.
Kamel Mohammed of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture urges urban farmers to make fresh foods available for local consumption.
Urbanization is taking a toll on us, and hence most of this ultra-processed food being readily available for us to make use of. And I think if you encourage people to go into the urban farming, i.e. rearing and intensive rearing of poultry or other ruminants and production for community consumption and home consumption.
President of Ghana Nutrition Association, Dr. Kingsley Preko, noted the country's food regulations have failed to match changing food environment.
Yeah, here is the case that we are having quite a changing food marketing environment, changing food chains and stuff like that in the country, that the older existing laws have not really previewed some of these happenings that we are looking at. If you look at food regulation, yes, there are a lot of food regulation exercises that are going on, but you could see much focus on processed foods that are coming in the country and all that.
Researching Obesogenic Food Environment is a 3-year joint study between Ghana and South Africa. The program, funded by International Development Research Center, seeks to understand changing nature of food marketed in poor communities in both countries. Drivers of changes and potential lift to improve healthiness of local food market are among the objectives. The second phase of the program focused on retail, energy and value chain governance. The third phase analyzes governance and political economy and identifies policy opportunities. Researchers embarked on a learning journey, visiting Dako farms in Kumasi, food warehouses, vendors and market centers. Principal investigator Dr. Reginald Ajete believes to equip stakeholders with a tool to better address identified problems.
So as part of the ROFI project, we are embarking on this learning journey in Ghana, where we are trying to go to the producers of food and to see how things work around there, and also to look at the various markets where foods are retailed and where foods are sold.
Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Debra.
Right, we return to our May Day celebrations across the country. And the Ashanti Regional Chapter of the Trades Union Congress has raised questions about the high rate of casual workers in the labour market in Ghana. General Secretary Othman Abubakar is worried. In addition, some workers are threatened not to join labour unions at the workplaces. He is worried this practice is a major infringement on the fundamental rights of the workers. He said this at the May Day celebrations held in the region. Prince Appiah has more in this report.
The 2019 Ashanti Regional May Day celebrations saw many labor unions display many placards depicting their conditions of service and the need for government to work at them. The Ashanti Regional Minister Simon Osei-Mensah and the TUC General Secretary Uthman Abubakar addressed the people. TUC General Secretary for the region Uthman Abubakar observes many of the labor force in Ghana are working as casual workers for many years.
Tens of thousands of workers are working as casual employees without employment contracts. In fact, some of them have worked as casuals over a decade. Tens of thousands of workers are denied their fundamental right to join unions because they could be sacked by their anti-union employers if they do so.
Mr. Abubakar wants government to equip state institutions to enforce labor laws in the workplaces to address such challenges.
We in organized labor hold the view that these unfair labor practices are being perpetuated by some employers who know that the state institutions such as factories, inspectorates, labor department do not have the resources to monitor and enforce compliance with employment regulations. They also know that the National Labor Commission does not have resources to adjudicate expeditiously on labor disputes, so they mistreat Ghanaian workers with impunity. Honorable Regional Minister, we are humbly appealing to you and your government to provide the necessary logistical, financial and human resources to these state institutions to perform their duties effectively.
Meanwhile, Ashanti Regional Minister Simon Osei-Mensah promised of strict enforcement of social protection laws at offices of work.
Punctuality, eschewing absenteeism and lateness, the practice of leaving offices before time and not working as expected, and more importantly, corruption. As a government and a signatory to the ILO Convention on the Fundamental Principles of Rights at Work, we shall ensure strict enforcement of the occupational health and safety standards and extend social protection laws in the protection of workers' rights at their workplaces.
The theme for the occasion was sustainable pensions for all, the role of social partners. Prince Apia reporting.
The Food and Drugs Authority has been urged to clamp down on the many detergents with toxic chemicals being sold on the market. The managing director of cleaning firm Sparkling Company Limited says members of the general public are often ignorant about such toxic chemicals and their impact on their health. Nana Usu Kisi, who led her staff to clean up the Lekma Hospital here in Accra, said the FDA would have to educate Ghanaians on the harmful effects of such cleaning agents on the market. A report by Henry Kwesi Badu.
As part of the company's campaign to promote cleanliness at public health facilities, over 200 employees joined in the cleanup at the Lekma Hospital. The company's MD also urged the public to be wary of such harmful cleaning agents.
Some chemicals actually contains toxins. They are too harsh for humans. In fact, some of them even have carcinogens, which can cause cancer, breathing problems, and other related diseases. So we want to make sure that what we are using is healthy, because when you are cleaning, you are breathing the fumes. And sometimes, even if it's healthy, the amounts that you use may not be good. You may overuse it, and that can harm you. So you have to even make sure that when you are cleaning, your dilution is also good. Normally, when you are buying something, look at the label. The label will tell you what is inside. And we have products that have been designed specifically for green cleaning, so they have the green seal. It really works. And we have most of them in the markets. They have a lot of them on the market. So that is their job, to protect us. So they should also be aware of some of these chemicals that can harm us. So when they actually certify a product, they have to be sure that the contents are good for consumption, and it is their duty. It's true that you may not be able to test all the chemicals, but to some extent you can test.
Some patients at the Lekma Hospital were grateful to the company for the cleanup.
How they can clean here, I'm here before they start the dust, how they
clear the dust and then how the activities, the things where the instruments where they use for cleaning is very, very nice to us. Yeah. So
the place was very dusty.
Very, very dusty. So when they come and you see right now, you see everything clear.
Size, the company has really done well, and I wish they would do it frequently, because when you formally look at Lekma Hospital, in fact, the floor alone can testify. But for now, you realize that the floor is very clean. So I suggest that they should come every holiday to do this cleanup exercise for us.
The custodial management company says it has begun engaging other government hospitals across the country so they could join the sparkling healthcare campaign to keep health centers clean. Henry Kwesi-Bedus report.
The Accra Region Police has arrested 4 Nigerians for their involvement in a number of cyber crimes. At least one of the suspects picked up in a swoop on their residence at Ashomang Estate confessed they were purposely brought in from Nigeria to engage in internet fraud. The police in recent days have vowed to clamp down on foreigners found to be engaged in criminal activities, whilst also vowing to go after landlords who give out their properties to such persons. Maxwell Agbagba has more in this report.
One of the suspects who spoke on behalf of the others said they had been brought into Ghana from Nigeria. He stated the Nigerian who rented the apartment for them at Ashomang Estate left Ghana the morning before the police stormed the house.
He left early this morning. His father was having a sick problem, I think. So he left early this morning from Nigeria. We'll start from 9 to 4 in the morning.
Police say 30 laptops were found where they were operating. Director of Operations of the Accra Region Police, ACP Kwesi Ofori, says the police will not relent in its efforts to clamp down on foreigners engaged in crime.
They raised that sort of criminal gang where people employed young men from foreign countries to come to our state and embark on these cyber fraud activities. And I believe that the police will go all out to get them and prosecute them. We will not allow foreigners to come to our country, use our country facility to advance cybercrime and other fraudulent activities. No, we will not permit. The police will ensure that we safeguard the state integrity and the integrity of our people. Trying to break into people's accounts, trying to engage in other serious cyber crimes. And I think the laptops are of evidential value to us. And also we are appealing to Ghanaians, to report such characters, to the police so that the law might take its course.
The Ghana Immigration Service has also warned landlords will be held liable if they are found to have rented out their properties to non-Ghanaians without checking their immigration status.
We expect any property owner who intends to rent out such property to a non-Ghanaian to first of all check on the immigration status of that non-Ghanaian. And for that, the law says that if you ignore this and go ahead to rent out such property to the non-Ghanaian and you are found out, you are liable of contravention of the Immigration Act 2000.
There have been some concerns the ongoing clampdown by the state agencies could be unfairly targeting ECOWAS nationals with ramifications for Ghanaians in other West African countries. Senior mediation advisor in the Office for Political and Peace Affairs at the United Nations, Emmanuel Bombande, however, says none of the ECOWAS protocols stops the state agencies from insisting on the registration of nationals who enter sister countries.
We must respond robustly to that threat. But once we do that, we must take into account that all the treaties and protocols we have entered into in Africa, none of them ever said we should not make sure that the protection and the safety of our people would be compromised or undermined simply by virtue of the fact that we have entered into those treaties. If we take the ECOWAS protocol on the free movement of goods and people, it says that you have right of entry for 90 days. Now, if somebody comes in and we don't know when the person came in, and the person overstayed the 90 days and we still do not know, or the person is not in any gainful employment to merit the residency, whether it's in the private sector, an international organization, or in gainful employment in elsewhere, the problem is no longer the problem of the protocol. It's our incapacity as a state.
Oh, I see.
To monitor who is where at what point. The other states are doing it, and that's why they probably are better in how they coordinate that.
He also advised governments on the way forward or how to tackle the recent wave of crime and how to tackle it going forward.
But in making sure that our security is up to touch and top notch and dealing and responding to crime the way it ought to respond to it.
Because it's a priority, we must continue to invest in the training, the equipping, the professionalism across board of our key security agencies. We must lessen the political oversight so that it does not become overburdensome, and let it be fluid and well coordinated. We must ensure that the people of Ghana are in the front line of helping the security agencies. In other words, if in the neighborhood you see that something is not right, you don't remain passive. You draw the attention of your assemblyman or woman right up the structure of governance. We must make security to be a responsibility of all and not some. And you cannot do that when you see too much politics in how you coordinate security. We must go back to the Ghana in which all Ghanaians, regardless of which political party, region they come from, deserve to be treated equally within the framework of social justice that responds to the goals of sustaining the Sustainable Development Goals, particularly Goal 16. Because Goal 16 is talking about justice. It does not just talk about equity. It does not just talk about inclusion. It talks about justice for all.
And then to go, I also was work on report. The president has 6 months or so to either release it or write a white paper on that. Some are saying he should release it immediately. Do you support the cause?
I support that, but it is not just about releasing it. If releasing it immediately does not come along with the countermeasures that will make sure that nothing of that sort happens, then it is not worth it. Then it's better that it was not released.
A 40-year initiative to translate the Holy Quran into Twi has successfully ended with the launch of the literature in Kumasi. Ghana's former ambassador to Egypt, retired Lieutenant Ahmed Umar Sanda, was among other dignitaries at the launch, which was attended by Islamic scholars. Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin reports.
My association with owner of the work, we are outdoor. Sheikh Nkasa Ajeku has been my working colleague over several years, whilst we both served the Ghana Armed Forces as imams.
It was a ceremony fit for a newborn. It was spiced up with a showcase of Quranic recitals at the Islamic Senior High School in Kumasi. Akan joins the League of Local Languages adapted for translation of the Islamic Holy Book. The initiative is seen as yet another journey to bring the gospel closer to the hearts and minds of the readers. Translator Sheikh Harun Nkansa Ejekum says the compilation was an inspiration.
So there was not a point in time that I go to a point where I was discouraged, not at all. Only that sometimes I put a stop to because maybe some of the work that I was doing as a military, sometimes it takes me to some countries for peacekeeping. That's why sometimes it made me to put a stop to it. Less, there's nothing that discourages me at all. There's nothing at all like that. My intention is to help Muslims be able to understand the real meaning of the Holy Quran and what the Quran intends.
Lieutenant Ahmed Umar Sanda described the project as symbolic.
I knew and appreciated the depth of his knowledge of the scriptures, be it the Quran or the Bible. I was therefore not surprised when he called to tell me that Imam, a Juma Meshasin, I am there, Miri, and I had to come here because I believe it is the continuation of the good work and the name that he has left in the Ghana Armed Forces Imamate Service. I congratulate Sheikh Nkansa Ajeku and pray that Allah gives him in good health and a longer period of life for the Ummah to make use of his knowledge.
The first copy of the tree translation of the Quran was bought by Hajia Farida Amponsa and her family for 20,000 cedis.
Because Quran at first was in Arabic language, and not all of us can read Arabic or write it. So the moment we heard our father, who is Alhaji Sheikh Nkansa, translating the Quran into tree, we were very happy. Now I think that I can read and understand so that I can follow whatever is in it.
Member of Parliament's Communications Committee, Sam Jotesi, will ask the House to summon Information Minister Kojompon Nkrumah to explain why Ghana dropped from her position as the #1 in Africa and the World Press Freedom Rankings to #3. The MP for Ningo Pram has been speaking on PM Express.
Going into an election, 18-20 months away from a general election, that is going to be a very, very tricky election in this country. Yeah. It is not the best time for us to be dropping in our press freedom rankings. I mean, you need the press to be at the vanguard of whatever change may happen. And you need the press to feel free enough. But intimidating the press, it does not augur well for us. I mean, insist that the minister comes to us with concrete steps that his ministry would take to safeguard and protect journalists. And it will not be a matter that will just end there. We will take it out.